We got to bring in our next guest. We mentioned it earlier, former top 20 player in singles, but former world #1 in dubs. 6-time major champ, Olympic gold medalist in 2012. Let's bring in Max Mirnyi to the show. Max, it's really nice to meet you. You got myself.
How are you?
You
Great
got Tracy,
to see you guys.
Jimmy.
Great to be here.
How's your weekend going?
My weekend's been great.
All right.
A lot of tennis. Tennis in Miami.
When I saw Max on the grounds a couple days ago, Max and I go way back. We played against each other, practiced with each other, and just now when he walked in, I was like, man, this Miami's so great. I was like, how did you do here? You know, I can't remember all the results. He goes, well, I won it 4 times and 7 finals.
7?
And 7 finals as well. So what did you love about playing here in Miami?
Well, I was on that fortunate end of things where a lot of the times I didn't know the difference between practicing and playing a match. You know, growing up in Florida, just on the other coast in Bradenton, Sarasota area at the very famous Bolletary, now IMG Academy. You know, it was so competitive from the very beginning, me coming there, that, like I said, just sometimes you just practice there.
Yeah.
You drive up, you play here, whether it's a first round, as a semifinal, didn't kind of matter.
Wow.
But yeah, I was fortunate to have come through many years of staying, using the Bradenton Academy as a base. And we had a great group of guys, super coaches throughout the years. And yeah, just coming here, I always treated here, event in Delray Beach a few weeks ago, kind of like my home events. I always felt very special here. Obviously was probably more accustomed to the conditions, you know, than anyone else in the draw.
Yeah.
And loved playing doubles. Didn't have nearly as much success on a singles court, but did all right over the years.
And you played with a decent guy there. How was that playing with
That's
Roger
right.
Federer?
Yeah, that was my first, you know, impression or first witnessing the greatness, because I forgot what year that was, but I could be really flashing back and remembering how he was taking the racket back for the forehand, and the guys at the net were backing off, and I was just moving forward. That was the great remembrance of that partnership with Roger.
I like it.
Max, great seeing you. I just want to ask, because I haven't seen you in a little bit, how health-wise, how are you doing right now? Because I know you've had some health issues. Is everything going well?
Thank you for your support over the years, as always, and I'm happy to say that I've come through a family scare, and fortunate to have had a successful surgery at the end of 23, and all of 24 had to go put intense treatment, actually not far from here at the Baptist Health Center. And last year, coming to this event was very mixed feelings. Like I say, very special being at the tennis at the same time, just a few miles down, going to the hospital for the rehabilitation after the surgery. But thank God everything went well, and I'm happy to be back in a different role. Well, freer, much freer this time around at the tennis event, at my most favorite one probably. And just with those scary moments behind me.
So they don't call you the Beast for no reason.
Can we see you back coaching then? Is that something you think you might be?
You know what? I never stopped coaching, even though I'm off the professional tour. I'm much more enjoying my time with both of my son, who are playing on a regular basis in a little afternoon program in Sarasota, Florida, with Travis Eckert, and
You can't
just
be,
getting
you can't
in
be
with them
talking
and
about Travis. You got to talk about IMG Academy.
That's right. Well,
it's all good. I'm
much
just kidding, Max.
Much closer to his program, and I'm actually Tuesday, Thursdays are my days when I'm hitting. I'm actually hitting,
awesome.
and I feel that this is a perfect schedule for me. Still kind of quite early after the surgery, and you know, kind of getting into the thick of things again with my son. He's 15, playing the local tournaments around Florida, and this is a great place to be if you want to be a tennis player, certainly.
Yeah, Max, what such a beautiful family, 2 daughters and 2 sons. It's I called you the gentle giant because you were fierce on the court, but just such a great guy, always friendly off the court. But if your children wanted to be pro, it sounds like 1, maybe 2 are quite serious. Would you love that, or would you shy away from that? What do you think? Great lifestyle, did so much for you?
Listen, Tracy, it would have been an absolute dream. You know, I walk these grounds, whether it's here at this one of our biggest tournaments, or be it at Delray Beach, anywhere. I share the same empathy for organizers, for players that are coming in to play there for the first time or the last time. There's so much in my blood that goes hand in hand with a tennis player, that if they choose to pursue and maybe get to the level where these guys are or girls are, that would only be an absolute treat, and I would support it 100%. So far, we really have our mind set on improving our UTR rankings, maybe getting to some of the top ITF tournaments. And I am a strong believer in this American college system, and I've seen too many successful stories and good friends of mine who've played the college tennis, be it a singles or doubles, have had a tremendous careers, and I attribute that a lot to them coming through the college levels of development.
So
between the ages of 18 to 22, 23, I really believe that this is nothing but benefits for anybody to join a good college program for tennis.
I love that. And so, Max, I played juniors, but then I had kids that played juniors, and I was a nervous wreck. If you're on the sidelines, are you calm? And some of these other parents are kind of surprising. What do you feel about those moments? And then also, I love that you're talking about college tennis, because there are colleges out there that your children might not be able to get into, but their tennis will help them get into those colleges. But talk about the junior tournaments and how sometimes that might be a little difficult,
Listen,
Max.
Tracy, it's so nerve-wracking. I look at some of those parents, and sometimes families get split up to 4 different corners. You'll have a mother, father, grandfather, and a grandma. That poor little kid is thrown into a cage of lions and tigers. I feel so sorry for those kids sometimes, where parents and grandparents and uncles get so worked up about winning that almost meaningless match, that I'm just trying to educate and sometimes use the weight of my experience in the sport by telling the parents, by telling the kids that want to listen, that it's not about winning today, not even about winning tomorrow. It's a long road that you got to look ahead and develop your skills, develop your character, develop your physical side of things. And that's what I try to relay to my kids. And even though it doesn't come across nicely, everybody wants to win more and now.
Yeah.
I still try to say that it's great, you win, but let's make sure we come out and do the right things tomorrow in practice and take care of your body so that you can maybe play in 15 and 20 years and still enjoy it.
Love it.
So that's the way I look at it.
That is well said. We just watched Coco Gauff get the win over Maria Sakkari, and she just beat her 12 days ago in Indian Wells. So Coco Gauff moves on, and the Sakkari ranking will continue to drop, unfortunately. I got a kick out of, I remember Roger Federer was doing an interview one time talking about with his kids and how he tried to give them a basic, tip on the backhand. And the boys were like, shut up, Dad. Like, you don't know anything. I want to talk to the local coach. I'm sure they have a good understanding of all the success you've had, but it seems like the relationship with maybe your oldest son, that you are kind of the coach, and he knows of your success and believes in the tips you give him.
Well, I think it's very important to also, especially at a very young age of development, it being a tennis sport as it is, to have more of a group environment for the kids. It's a very lonely, very harsh environment for the kids to come out and make their sole decisions when they're 8 and 10 and 12 and 14. Sure, hopefully by the time they're 18, they know what they're doing. But at 8 and at 10 and at 14, as long as you see you have connection with whatever local program or coach that you're going to send your kids to, I think there's nothing but benefits when your kids join a good program. Yes, I step in and sometimes I help for my own sake, just to have exercise, but also to kind of keep an eye on my son and try to see and help him develop the tennis that I see that he potentially might be playing in the future. And I think that's where the experience plays a major role, because I just kind of see what he might be growing into. And with the way his grips are and the way his tendencies on the courts are, and some I try to cut away, sometimes I try to enhance. But I prefer give the benefits to the program that he's in with the kids. Good group of kids. There's about 6, 8, 10 kids at Travis's program, and they mix in with one another. Sometimes they beat each other. Sometimes they go out to the mall and then they kick each other's butt the next day.
So,
Hey, Max, I got to ask you, we just saw you with the gold medal there in the Olympics.
That's
I got to ask you, you carried the Olympic flag for Belarus. That's something that obviously not everyone gets to do.
Right.
So how was that experience of carrying the Olympic flag, then winning the gold medal, and then on top of that, go into your Max Mirnyi Center that you have in Belarus?
Well, thank you for reminding. But, you know, looking back, and if I kind of reverse back to my really, really early childhood when I was 5 and 6 years old, I didn't have any other choice. I couldn't have been a mathematician. My mother is an Olympic level swimmer from Belarus. My father is a national volleyball player from Russia. Lucky to be a tennis player, but I could have easily been a rower or something else.
Yeah.
I was brought into the sports environment, and growing up and watching the Olympics in 1980 in Moscow, and then watching the following one, I believe it was in the US. I was basically brought up with Olympic dream for some reason. And then when I kind of, you know, developed my tennis skills, I was good enough to participate in the Olympics. That kind of pinched me, and I said, well, what about those little kids' dreams? You know, can I fulfill them? And I was in a position where I was already seasoned tennis player myself, and when success came, I was very fortunate. Alongside was Victoria Azarenka. She was #1 in the world in singles, I believe, at that time. Very top doubles player, and mixed has just rejoined the Olympic program after a long while. So we said, why don't we try? And you know, first on, first go. Well, we've played together at the U.S. Open, and you know, a couple of years prior to that. But that Olympic in London was a very successful one, and wow, big monkey off my back, because I was already up to that point on my Olympic #4.
Yeah.
And was very anxious to win it. Got pretty close in Sydney, getting to the semifinals of the doubles. Didn't happen. And finally did in London. So this was a very, very proud moment, being chosen to be the flag bearer for Belarus. And you know, listen,
That's gotta feel unreal.
Absolutely. I feel that even though I excelled in tennis, being an individual sport, I'm very much a team player deep down inside, and representing Belarus in Davis Cup for many years, having a chance to play the Olympics and win the medal there with Vika was absolute highlight of the career in terms of the proud side of it is concerned.
And then you started the Max Mirnyi Center in Belarus. Now that you have kids there training tennis.
Right, right.
When did you start that, and what is it all about?
That happened that close to, 14 years ago, 2011. My father and I, we felt that around that time, I finished my singles career, just was completely drained, physically, mentally, didn't have any more. But continued playing doubles, but every year at that point, I felt that might be the last year. But then I won Miami.
And then I won Miami.
A few times.
And then I won it 4 times.
So when that success comes, you kind of think, well, you start weighing a few things, and you balance out, and you say, well, that's not too bad. Miami's pretty big, it's nearby. And then I just kind of kept on going. But at that time, we felt this was a more logical continuation of my involvement with tennis. You know, we built a small little club, 5 courts, and we felt catering to the kids that are starting the game at 4 or 5 or 6 years old, and kind of taking them through these trenches of beginner's level of the yellow and the orange and the green balls. That was something that I enjoyed doing with my own kids, and I felt that this is the biggest impact I can do back to the country, to the club where I grew up in Belarus, because that's something that we don't have enough of. And somebody like myself with experience being in the game for many years, I felt that I'm totally capable of doing so.
Love it.
Max, we're showing all these pictures of you, and there was one with you and Serena with a trophy. Is that when
I think she was 16,
when you won the 12 and under Wimbledon title or something? I just want you to see that picture again. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. That's 1998. This happened on my birthday. I was so tight. I tell you, probably never before throughout my whole tennis career, I was never tighter, because this was the first Grand Slam final, and I felt like, oh my God, I'm playing with Serena. She was not as big as we all know Serena became, but she was Serena Williams. Venus was already making the headlines, but I felt like she was special from that very first meeting we've had, because she was hitting the ball so hard, and girls, just like guys with Roger when he was taking the forehand swing, girls were backing off. So I felt that there's something special on my side of the net that I gotta preserve and treasure. And then having that, me turning 21, I felt like, oh my God, if I don't take this opportunity, it will never happen. It will never come back to me again. So holding that trophy, that was, again, big monkey off my back at the age of 21, because that kind of gave me encouragement, belief, but more importantly at that moment probably was also the financial support, because my dad was very supportive of me and working whatever jobs he could land in Florida just to kind of send me on a plane to El Salvador to play some local tournament to earn international ranking. And all of a sudden winning that tournament at 21 gave me an ability to plan out the schedule, to consider myself an ATP player, have a full schedule of challengers, qualifying events on tour, and that's where kind of my singles career started from that point onward too.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's in the royal box, Max. That's spectacular.
Right.
But I want to ask our producer to go back when you were hitting with some of the kids, because so many of the fans that watch this show, Michael, can you go back to when Max was just volleying? Because so many of the fans at home, they play doubles themselves, and I feel like they take big swings, no worries, volleying at the net. The one before
that's
that.
me with my son there.
That's beautiful.
We're playing little choo-choo train.
Little choo-choo train. But the one before this, you were just barely moving, and you see the club players that are hitting volleys, and it's big old swings, and it's
right.
You're just so on balance. This one right here, Max, you're barely moving. So the club players, look at the feet, really balanced, everything, very short take back, racket out in front. But give us, you're one of the best doubles players ever in history, so give us 2 or 3 tips for the people at home.
Listen, I had just little fadeaway, interesting story. Both of my sons are here with me in Miami. And I say, kids, who do you like to come and see here during the Miami Open? So my lefty son said, Ben Shelton, and now the new hero, Jack Draper. And I said, that's a very good choice. My other son, who's 10 years old, says, I love Nick Kyrgios.
And that's where I saw you at practice.
Yes, exactly. And I said, okay, great. Nick is good. But what is there that you like about him? He says, he's got good volleys. And I'm thinking, of all the things in the world, Nick Kyrgios with good volleys? Obviously, he didn't know. He just knows the popularity of Nick Kyrgios and how much glamour he gets from all these between the leg shots that he hits, and just overall a good character for the game. But I said, volleys? And I said, yeah, he's good volleys. I said, well, let's go to his practice, and I'll talk to you through his volleys.
Oh,
so awesome. Nick Kyrgios comes out, hits his usual ground strokes, plays a couple baseline games, and then he goes for some volleys. And I say, well, look, he's so straight up. You think it's good or bad? He says, I don't know. I said, well, exactly, you don't know, but I tell you, I learned from the great Pat Rafter that you volley with your feet. And I was lucky enough to play some doubles with Pat Rafter, but also on one occasion before that doubles event in Halle, Pat invited me to his residence in Bermuda, and I spent 2 weeks with him there. And I learned so much. It helped me so much understanding of what the volleyer does, how the volleyer thinks, how the volleyer trains, because we've done so much there, specific training for volleying, and Pat was so specific on just staying level with not having your eye level jump up and down, having that horizon unchanged. And for that to happen, you have to be low, and you have to build that strength in your quads and glutes and core. And so when I started explaining to my 10-year-old that Nick Kyrgios is very talented with his hands, but he does not have good volleys because he doesn't use his legs enough. So to answer your question, number one, you got to be low to the ground, lower that center of gravity, because the closer to the ground you are, the quicker you're going to be able to react to change of direction. Because when you come to the net, you force an issue. Somebody's meant to be passing you. You'll be able to react to the direction of the passing shot if you're lower to the ground. And it's crucial, making split step every time. When opponent or your hitting partner, your spotting partner hits the shot on the other side, you got to be doing micro splits. Your heels have to be coming off the ground slight bit. You don't want to be jumping kangaroo jumps, because if you're in the air, if you're doing Michael Jordan, you're going to be that much late.
That's like Chiz. Chiz does kangaroo jumps.
So you have to be doing low to the ground. You got to be doing soft micro split step.
No,
hands out in front.
I wanted to show that, Max, because you're just so on balance, and it's not like the head's going up and the arms are separating. Everything is just nice and easy. You know, head over shoulders. I say shoulders over hips, hips over knees. It's not bending over. So Just a little lesson.
Yeah.
Did a great job. Thank you, Max.
Yes.
I think the people at
Thank
home
you.
love that. We keep talking about doubles, but I mentioned you have so much success in singles. You have wins over Sampras, Federer, Hewitt multiple times, top 20 player, but all the big-time success in doubles. How do you feel about the constant chatter of trying to improve the product or the business of doubles and make it more whatever marketable or more people out to watch? Are you tired of that convo, or do you keep an open mind thinking about that and curious about ways to improve it and maybe change some things up?
Well, listen, I think as far as the business side of things is concerned, it's an everlasting challenge to make doubles more marketable. I always looked at doubles as a great instrument to enhance my singles. With the way I played singles, very much reflected how doubles was played back in the day and how I believe doubles should be played. Obviously now we still have, or we have already many successful doubles players who don't serve and volley, who don't believe hitting a first volley short is a useful shot. But I believe it was, and it was for me for many years. And I think still, if many players, with the way tennis evolved in the last, say, 10 or 15 years, if they could still work on that, it could definitely be beneficial to their game. And so, yeah, I think that, if we can continue to encourage youngsters play the doubles, I certainly do that with my son, who are 10 and 15. I sometimes play 2-on-1 against them, and we make it score like a doubles match. And I definitely believe that double game reproduces many things what happen on a singles court. You're under pressure. You're forced to hit in a smaller area of the court. And you start to understand the geometry of the court a little bit better, a little quicker than it may take for a player who only works and plays singles.
Max, before we went on air, we were talking a little bit about Mark Knowles, our colleague here at Tennis Channel, and you said you played with him early on in your career. So give us a funny Mark Knowles story. We got to hear one. You got to put him on the spot here.
Well, speaking of promoting doubles, I know Mark has done so much work because he was on the Players Council, and he was actually, he was for many years one of the best and successful doubles player. I was happy to beat him a couple times and maybe take the torch away from him. Yeah. But listen, also on the same side of the court with him, we won a pretty big tournament in Dubai. I forgot early, maybe mid 2005 or 6. And I was amazed because I always felt like I was the athletic guy, being on the other side with somebody who wasn't as big as I am. And here I am on the court with Mark. And I feel like, wow, as if here's a Porsche, and I'm some kind of an old Buick driving the king. Mark is so athletic. That was the impression I had of Mark because, he's doing the Pete Sampras dunk of the serve in doubles, and he's getting to absolutely every lob that's crossing getting over my head, and he's getting to any drop shot. Yeah. He's just an absolutely physical phenom who took doubles to another level from, say, the Woodbridge and Woodford time, who were very successful, and then he took it to another level with athleticism, with movement at the net. He had great hands, and obviously a little bit of temperament there that sometimes you just want to knock him over. But listen, he made us all play better, and he was very instrumental in development of the doubles game and in success of the Bryants over the years.
I got to ask you just briefly about the singles. Actually, right here behind us, Fonseca, we've seen this crowd. It was absolutely packed. There were fans that got here at 10 in the morning, and now I think they just moved it to center court, so these fans are leaving. Who do you like now when you watch singles, and how do you feel like the game has changed nowadays from when you were playing?
Well, obviously, with our superstars, with the Yannick Zinners and Alcaraz and now the Fonsecas, it's incredible. I feel that sometimes I get a little bit actually discouraged because being now on the coach's end of things with tennis, you talk and you give so much effort and telling the kids how to dissect the court and work the tennis geometry, and then you tell them, okay, let's watch the match, and then you sit down and watch the Alcaraz or some of these guys. They just completely changed the geometry of the tennis. Yeah. The shots that they go for, the shots that they end up landing, not meant to be going in, but somehow because of their physicality, because of their special talent, because of the equipment change, you know, the rackets now do unbelievable things. You know, they're so flexible. There's just so much power, but at the same time, strings, the technology with the strings, that the evolution of that, what happened in the last 15, 20 years, help them take big swings and the ball stays in. And then you see these aggressive rainbows go from one end to the court to the other one, landing on the baseline. And you're thinking, wow, you know, and they keep doing that for 20 times before finishing the point. There's nothing but to say, wow. So, you know, it's incredible to observe with the way game has changed, and you know what these guys are doing to the popularity of our sport is incredible. Fonseca, what he has just done in the last 2, 3, 4 months. So much we see. There's so many green shirts on the premises, and I actually benefit from it because I was like, I see this group of green shirted guys coming up to me, and they're like, hey, can we have a picture? Me?
Me?
And they're like, yeah, we remember your match in whatever 55 years ago at the US Open with Guga Kuerten.
Nice.
You got Guga, right?
You got Guga.
Didn't you get Guga in a fifth set tiebreak, or no? Is my memory wrong?
No, that was a funny story because I lost that match at the US Open to Guga. But I was the only one to beat him on the clay court that season because he won all those Rome and Monte Carlo and French Open for the 4th time or something. But I beat him in Hamburg on the clay.
Wow.
So some of those Brazilians.
On the clay. Let's go.
So he had the only loss on the clay, and that was to Max Mirnyi. So some of those Brazilians coming up to me, that's all they say. Remember Guga? I said, I remember Guga very much.
That is awesome. Such a great career, and also, Max, such a powerful comeback story. Thank you for sharing, and it's great to hear that you're feeling good, and it's great to have you back still in the tennis community, giving back and all that. So thanks so much for coming by and sharing the story and giving us some insight on some volleys.
It's been great pleasure watching you. My kids are so used to having all of you guys in our living room, so continue on what you're doing. You're doing great things for the sport. Appreciate it.
Great to see you,
Max.
Max.
Thanks so much, Max.
Happy you're doing so well.
Thank you, guys.
See you, bud.